Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic!
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program? Yes, this hour fueled by Chick-fil-A because I needed it today. Now, if you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, all the social media links that you need to stay engaged and on top of the show. We got to talk about what I've decided to call yacht Nazis. I have no desire ever to go yachting. I got no desire to be on big boats in the ocean. I don't understand cruises. So a cruise to me is you are held hostage with a group of mostly senior citizens on a boat for at least a week. And you may occasionally get off and see morbidly obese naked geriatrics at various beaches in the Caribbean and have mediocre food that you're told is fantastic. I'm not a cruise person. I don't want to go on a Disney cruise. If I want to go on a cruise, it's to get away from little people, not to watch little people in their dirty diapers screaming at Mickey Mouse. I don't want to go on a Disney cruise. I have friends who go on cruises and love it. I have employees who think the cruise is the greatest thing. It's all you can eat and all you can drink, and you get to stop off at various Caribbean islands. And at least I kind of understand, like, it's big entertainment and you're away from the country and there's lots of stuff to do. Some of the cruise ships are pretty cool. I might do an Alaska cruise. That one I kind of would like to see. What I cannot understand is the desire of rich people to get on yachts. And what I am finding is that the yacht people are modern American Nazis. The yacht Nazis. They are privileged, pampered, subsidized by their parents, blame the Jews for many of their problems, and are thinking that Donald Trump is an actual Nazi where the actual Nazi Graham Plattner is a normal person. This is kind of the weirdest thing. Have you noticed how many rich people in this country have just kind of embraced this Nazi guy in Maine while everyone they dislike is a Nazi? The yacht Nazis. What happens on these yachts? Why is it the people who can afford the yachts are like this? Why is it the wealthy people, particularly the kids who've inherited the wealth, are not only spoiled, they have no clue the way the world works. And they've embraced radicalism. Look at the mayor of Seattle. The mayor of Seattle is subsidized by her parents. She has never worked a job a day in her life, as far as I know. Her husband doesn't work. They get a stipend from the mayor's parents, and she is a yacht Nazi. I don't know that she's ever been on a yacht, but I'm going to call her a yacht Nazi. She's a communist for sure. And she believes that if businesses want to pack up and leave Seattle, well, good for them. Goodbye. Don't want them anyway. They have this shared vision of degradation of society. Last night in California, Spencer Pratt. Can you believe Spencer Pratt? What was the MTV show? What? The Hills? Was it The Hill? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yes. It was The Hills. Yes. A reality TV star who lives in Los Angeles, whose home got burned down. By the way, it was not global warming. It was a radical progressive who hates wealthy people who decided to commit arson, who's being prosecuted now. Spencer Pratt's home gets burned down. Thousands of other homes get burned down, hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage. And the governor and the mayor in California and Los Angeles twiddle their thumbs and drag out the bureaucratic process to make it impossible to rebuild. And there is a seething, simmering anger. Last night on the debate stage in California, Spencer Pratt stood up there with a communist transplant who has only lived in California for about a decade and decried that Spencer Pratt wanted to do mean things to the homeless drug addicts. She's very upset. In fact, apparently, she's really, really upset that Spencer Pratt referred to her as a random city council member. She's so indignant about it. The debate was last night, and she's complaining about it. Let me read you. This is the Los Angeles Times, not exactly a fan of Spencer Pratt. The line of the night was Pratt dismissing Rahman, his communist opponent, who she actually is a communist, as a random council member, which is how the L.A. political world responded to her entry into the race. She was so upset about Pratt's remark that she continued to whine about it to a KNBC reporter after the debate. What's shocking about Rahman's flop is that she should know how important it is to project well to a television audience, given that her husband is a screenwriter. Her tone was flat when she needed to be passionate. No one had to remind Pratt of that. He was parrying tough questions on a big stage for the first time, facing an audience who knew him only as angry L.A. white guy he's been reveling in playing. He mostly succeeded. The yacht Nazis can't relate to authentic people. What's so hilarious is that at the Bulwark, they're trying to defend Graham Plattner in Maine, claiming that he's just being his authentic self, and voters want authenticity. Do voters want an authentic Nazi? Only the yacht Nazis want an actual Nazi, because the yacht Nazis aren't actually authentic Nazis. They're pampered, spoiled white kids whose parents are wealthy. It was remarkable on that stage to hear Spencer Pratt engage against this far-left wackadoo from City Council. Let me play you a soundbite from that. And yes, I'm talking about a mayoral race in Los Angeles with a guy who's probably not going to win. He's an internet sensation, probably not going to win. But listen to this exchange. Uh-oh. What the heck happened to the audio here? Well, let's see if I can figure this one out. There's some odd audio happening. He essentially said that this woman who wants to rescue the drug addict homeless people, if she does what she says she wants to do, she's going to get stabbed in the neck by the homeless person, because the homeless person doesn't want help. The homeless person wants drugs. This gets to what I've been telling you for a while now. We don't actually have in this country a homeless problem. The yacht Nazis think we have a homeless problem because the yacht Nazis, they have solved the world's problems on Daddy's yacht. And they have decided to misinterpret the signals of reality. And in interpreting the signals of reality, they've misinterpreted everything. And the yacht Nazis think we have a homeless problem. Did you know we don't have a homeless problem in the United States? We don't have a homeless problem in the United States. You're saying, Erickson, we got homeless people all over the streets. What do you mean we don't have a homeless problem? I'm telling you, we don't have a homeless problem. The homeless are not a problem in the United States. They are a symptom of the problem. The problem is feral drug use and mental health. We got a bunch of drug addicts who don't actually want help. And the left solution is let's just give them houses. We'll call them unhoused. We will put them in houses and we will solve the problem. Yes, you will give them a larger space that is subsidized by the government in which they can do unlimited drugs without you paying attention when they fall over and die. Or they have mental health problems. You know, the homeless veteran who runs up and down the street screaming about Vietnam and battling invisible ghosts, he's got mental health problems. And the VA has probably failed him. And the Democratic solution is to give him a house where they don't have to see him. Or maybe just urban camping. They'll do urban camping. They'll, instead of calling them homeless, they're urban campers. The yacht Nazis love things like that. They get to hang out on their yachts, and they see these people living their best life now in a tent on the side of the road. And they're like, man, what a liberty that is. We have to deal with our trust funds and our lawyers. Oh, wouldn't it just be free to live in a tent on the side of the road? Of course not. The yacht Nazis are one of the most destructive classes of people in the United States. They are privileged and pampered. They are spoiled. They do not live in the real world, and they are convinced they do. It's like I had this conversation last night with some friends in Springfield. There are a group of people in Washington, D.C. who used to be on the outside looking in. They were the conservative stalwarts who wanted to fight the establishment. And in fact, they have become the establishment, and yet they're still fighting as the outsiders. And they used to understand that Washington, D.C. was not real life, and yet they now live in Washington, D.C. and are obsessed by Washington, D.C. and are convinced that Washington, D.C. is in fact real life. Because all the people they know and hang out with are in Washington, D.C. So they think the problems of the world are now solved by the conservative movement of Washington, D.C. And they don't need to surrender power or give up power. They just got power. They need to use their power and use it against the left, forgetting there's no such thing as permanence in politics. They're like the yacht Nazis in a way. The yacht Nazis get on their mommy and daddy's yacht and sail the Caribbean or the Mediterranean, and they see the world so clearly through the reflection of the water, so they think. And they see Donald Trump as bad, and Republicans are bad, conservatives are bad, abortion is good, communism is good, and anyone who would stand up to the most centrist member of the United States Senate, who herself regularly battles Trump, but yet she still has an R next to her name, well, that guy with a SS tattoo representing the guards who oversaw the concentration camps, that guy's not the Nazi. Donald Trump's the Nazi. And they don't relate. It's one of the hallmarks of the yacht Nazis. They don't really relate to anyone else other than their fellow yacht Nazis. They embrace socialism, just like the Nazis. They hate and blame the Jews for all the world's problems, just like the Nazis. And when they see an actual Nazi, they want to get that guy elected because they think the bad Nazis, well, those are the people with an R next to their name. They got an R next to their name, therefore they must be bad because they support Donald Trump. The yacht Nazis, if left to their own devices, would destroy the country. And if you don't believe me, look at what they've done to California. Yes, you can. Search Eric Erickson, get the podcast. You subscribe to the podcast. And if you would do me a favor, if you have YouTube, go to youtube.com/EW Erickson and subscribe. We're trying to grow that channel. We've gotten more and more. We're almost 20,000 subscribers. We kind of let it grow organically over the years, and now suddenly we're like at 20,000 subscribers. It's time to push people. Go subscribe to YouTube. We're trying to be conservatives on YouTube still. We're on Rumble at EW Erickson as well, but want to grow YouTube because once you get into the algorithm there are very few conservatives who have stayed on YouTube, and I just think we shouldn't abandon the platform. Now, I found the clip, and it was good audio on this one. Spencer Pratt arguing with the progressive city councilwoman of Los Angeles who has not lived in the city for more than a decade, I suspect, came over for a job, started a homeless charity, got involved in city politics, and has not done anything to actually solve the homeless problem in Los Angeles. I want to play for you this exchange.
Treatment first. I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost us over $400 million to house for 70, 3,000 people for $400 million. This is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
You got that? 3,000 people housed by Los Angeles at a cost of $400 million. That is absurd. Progressives really can't do much of anything, can they? Particularly in California, they can't build a high-speed rail line. They can't actually solve the homeless problem. In Maryland, they haven't rebuilt the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It keeps getting more and more expensive. It's like the bridge to nowhere and the train to nowhere. Progressivism fails every time it's tried, just like it's kissing cousin communism. They fail. I don't know that Spencer Pratt can win in Los Angeles. I don't know that he can. I think Los Angeles has maybe crossed over and it's going to have to hit rock bottom, which it's close to, but not there yet before anything changes. But maybe it's different. Maybe it's different. I don't know. Maybe it's different. Maybe in Los Angeles, they're finally starting to realize that progressive power is keeping a whole lot of people who had houses homeless because they can't rebuild now. And maybe there's a backlash growing. Maybe so. We'll see. 877-973-7425 is the phone number. We will take calls when we come back. First, I need to tell you about Vision Computers. If you're buying a computer or you're building a computer, well, let Vision do it for you. They can build you your computer. Your computer is not one size fits all from the big box store. It's your computer. It's designed for you. In fact, if you have an existing computer, Vision Computers can build you a new computer and take all of your existing stuff on your hard drive, move it over to the new computer as long as it's Windows 11 compliant, and it'll be just like your old computer except new. The one-size-fits-all big box store, that's for the masses. It's the lowest common denominator. You are not the lowest common denominator. You are special in your own way, and you have unique computer needs. Let Vision Computers cater to you, interview you, figure out what you need, and build the computer for you. That's what they did for me and my family for my son's gaming PC. Call them at 404-COMPUTER. Go to visioncomputers.com. And remember, if you get a computer from Vision Computers, their world-class customer service comes with the computer. And if you just want the world-class customer service for your existing computer, well, you can get that too for like $199 a year. Mention Eric, you might get it for a little less. Visioncomputers.com, 404-COMPUTE. They can help your business. They can help you personally. Give them a try, though. What do you have to lose? They're a great company. 404-COMPUTE is the phone number. You can also check them out at visioncomputers.com. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, want to go to the phones to Palm Beach, Florida. Junior, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Erickson.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me on again, second time. I just want to thank you for your truth, your integrity, and your faith.
Thank you.
You do an amazing job. Now, I'm going to attempt to oversimplify a very complex dynamic that exists in this country today. And I'm going to preface this statement by, let's assume, with the words of wisdom of Ray Dalio, who I respect greatly, that 60% of Americans have the reading comprehension level below a seventh grader. And this brings into play the dynamic that the media has effectively taken over control of the American voter. And when I look at how we represent this entire country in terms of belief system, we tend to overplay the far left and overplay the far right. On the far right, we have these people who say bomb the towel heads and, send them to hell. And on the far left, we say house the homeless and drug addicts, regardless of what that may look like down the road. Mm-hmm. And what we're missing here is the majority of this country. If you really look at the centrists, and I hate to use the word centrist because you like to use the word progressive, and I'm not questioning you on progressivism. It exists. But I believe the further together the majority, and the 80-20 rule, literally 10% of the left and 10% of the right are speaking louder than 80% of the middle. And I think 80% of the middle, we may not always agree on faith and our belief in Christ. I hate to bring religion into it, but my faith is important to me. But for those that don't have faith, I think that we still have common ground in the middle that has really been relegated to mute at this stage of the game. And we are dividing the country. The media is effectively sowing seeds of division. And I've lost this hope that we are the United States of America, the greatest country ever in the history, that share some common ground, that we just want to be free. We want to have hope for a fruitful family, a happy life, health, prosperity, and to engineer our own way in a platform of freedom that exists. And that's what I have to say. And by the way, you do a fantastic job of unifying our country. I was a skeptic originally. I am now a major advocate of yours. And
well, look, I appreciate that very, very much. And I got to say that, I do think there are extremes on both sides. And I do think that what's notable is that by and large, President Trump's successes have come by being on the 80% side of 80-20 issues on immigration, on standing up to Iran. We can argue over how he's doing it, but standing up to him for sure. On taxes, on boys and girls sports. And I think it's very notable that the Democratic Party in particular is held captive by their far left because that's where their donors are. That is something I think a lot of people just don't appreciate, is that the reason Democrats have moved so far left is because so many of their major donors, Alex Soros, for example, and the Hollywood crowd, they're on the far left. The Democrats are changing their tune on Israel at a rapid clip because so many of their donor class are anti-Semites. And I do think that people forget, Republicans and Democrats alike, we're seeing this around the country right now, including here where I am in Georgia, that the goal is to win elections, not win primaries. And a lot of people on both sides of the aisle are saying and doing anything they can to win a primary, and it might cost them the election. A great example of that is the Abdul El-Sayed, the Democratic candidate in Michigan. Just listen to this.
I think we need to abolish things like the filibuster and the Electoral College, right? I think we need a voting day, like a voting holiday. I think there's a lot we need to do to make our democracy more robust. We need Supreme Court reform, but we need to update democracy for the 21st century. And the folks who want to pass the SAVE Act, They're telling us that this is about protecting democracy when really it's about taking away voters' rights.
It is not about taking away voters' rights, but you see, he wants to get rid of the filibuster. He wants to court reform his code for packing the Supreme Court, getting rid of the conservatives. He's speaking in code, but he's pretty far left. It's not just him. This is Tom Steyer, who was on the debate stage in the California debate last night.
Let me say this. ICE is a criminal organization. They're coming into our state. They're terrorizing people. They're racially profiling people, and they're harming people and committing violence against them. I'm in favor of abolishing ICE. But along the way, I did push for the sanctuary state law, which I absolutely believe in. But more than that, we should be prosecuting ICE agents for racial profiling. It's illegal in the state of California. We should be prosecuting them for violence against Californians. It's illegal, and we should go up the chain to the people who asked them to commit violence, including Stephen Miller. The truth is, we should be investigating their detention centers that they will not show that are dangerous, and they won't let anyone in, and I guess you can figure why.
Yeah, that's Tom Steyer, the Democratic candidate. He's the front runner of the Democratic Party in California. He wants to abolish ICE. The guy in Michigan wants to abolish ICE. Most Americans don't want to abolish ICE. They actually want to keep the deportations going. It's 80-20 issues there. And the Democratic Party is loudly dealing with the fringe of its party and being held hostage by the fringe of its party. Meanwhile, the Republican Party is still very much the party of Trump. Here's Harry Hinton from CNN this morning.
So Tuesday, especially in Indiana, showed that the president still has juice, still has a lot of influence, at least in Indiana.
Yeah.
So
as Indiana goes, so goes the nation when it comes to Republican voters and Donald John Trump. He absolutely still has the juice. And when you're a Republican and you go against Trump, you get voted off the island. I always love Survivor. And in this particular case, what we saw in Indiana was you go, adios, amigos, goodbye, see you later. And to me, that is emblematic of what we see nationwide with Republicans. I think there's this myth that's going on right now that, Trump is really losing support among Republicans. But compared to other midterm cycles, he's just as popular with Republicans as he has ever been at this point in midterm cycles. Right now, nationally, we're talking about an approval rating on average of 84%. In 2022, his popularity rating was 76%, actually lower, right, when he wasn't in the presidency. In 2018, the last time he was president, 85%. That 85 looks a whole heck of a lot like this 84% right here. The bottom line is this. Donald Trump still absolutely has juice with Republican voters. You saw it in Indiana, and I think that you'll see it down the line as well if any Republicans try and go against the President of the United States, who is still very much beloved by Republican voters nationwide.
And Harry, you were also looking at turnout. What are you seeing in turnout? Why is this significant to this conversation?
Okay, why is it significant? Because we know that within the Republican Party, Trump has that extra strong core, that MAGA base, right? We're talking about approval ratings, depending on which poll you look at, 95, 97, 100% with MAGA Republicans. And here's the thing. They are incredibly juiced up compared to other Republicans. Let's take a look here. Republicans who say it's more important to vote in 2026 than the usual midterm election. Look at this. 60% of MAGA identifying Republicans say that, compared to just 36% of non-MAGA. So what's going on in these primaries, right? It's not just that you have this core Republican base that really loves Donald Trump. The people who really love him, they're the ones who are absolutely juiced up to go out and vote. They would go over hot coals to vote in those primaries. And you saw that in Indiana, where the clear majority of those representatives who went against Trump on redistricting, well, they're no longer going to have a job come the next session of.
Now, the problem there is that it's the non-MAGA Republicans, and there are a lot of them in states like Georgia. They're not showing up. The Georgia Republicans are going to lose a conservative Supreme Court in the state because Republicans aren't showing up. They think their primaries are too nasty. They're too undecided. They don't realize that the Supreme Court election is in the primary, not the general. So whoever wins in the primary on the Supreme Court ballot is the Supreme Court. And the progressives in Georgia are outpacing the GOP. They're about 15 points up in early voting. Democratic turnout up 15%. And that's a problem nationwide. MAGA may go support the president, but they are not the only portion of the GOP. And you got to have all of them to beat the Democrats. And a lot of them are burned out. A lot of them, it's about oil prices right now. There's a deep frustration about oil prices and gas prices, real frustration among Republicans that the president has pulled punches on Iran, real frustrations about how Kristi Noem handled immigration. The president was doing great picking 80-20 issues, and it's not working right now. Kristi Noem has a lot to do with it, how she handled immigration. Gas prices, though, have a lot to do with it right now. And the Republicans are going to have to get people engaged. In Texas, there's a new survey out of voters. If Ken Paxton is the Republican nominee in Texas, it could cost Republicans some down-ballot seats, as angry independents who tend to ally with Republicans get mad that the GOP nominated a corrupt guy like Paxton. It could cost Republicans safe seats in Texas to nominate Ken Paxton, even as he wins. In Georgia, you lose the Court of Appeals of the Supreme Court to progressives because Republicans aren't turning out to vote. It's a huge problem in Georgia. In Wisconsin, the Republicans lost the Supreme Court there because Republicans didn't turn out and vote. MAGA turned out and voted, but MAGA is not the GOP. It may be a significant portion of GOP, and in Georgia, we know how big MAGA is. It's about a third of the Republican vote in Georgia. How do I know that? Because that's about the percentage of the vote that the MAGA candidates got against Brian Kemp in 2022. Slightly less than that, actually. In Georgia, that's why the governor of Georgia, by the way, is pushing a guy like Derek Dooley for the Senate instead of Mike Collins, because he understands that if you're too identified with Donald Trump in Georgia, you're not going to win a general, more likely than not. That's just the reality in Georgia. I mean, the governor almost got beaten by Stacey Abrams in 2018, and in 2022 ran as his own man with Donald Trump as a critic, and he blew it out of the water. He's one of the most popular governors in the nation right now. He's only hated by the hardcore Trump supporters in Georgia, who are a bunch of wackadoo conspiracy theorists by and large. It's wild to watch. But in Texas, in Florida, or even Ron DeSantis, who is a hardcore rock rib conservative, understands that you have to find issues that can persuade middle-of-the-road voters. Remember the Don't Say Gay law in Florida? That's what the left called it. That's what the media called it. It was a left-wing branding of a law that said you can't talk about sex with kindergartners in Florida. And it turned out overwhelmingly popular, even among Democratic voters, because in Florida they understood what the law didn't say was you can't be gay or you can't talk about it. What the law said was you can't talk about sex to kindergartners. It was an 80-20 issue. Republicans have got to go back to those 80-20 issues. Now, there are times you got to stand on principle. It is not an 80-20 issue when it comes to Iran. In fact, it's about a 60-40 against the war right now. Some things you do on principle. We started the fight, we should finish the fight. Walking out of it while it's not finished is probably not wise. You have to have some discernment there. But to Junior's point, I think the parties, particularly the Democratic Party, are really hijacked by their far left and right flanks. The far left flank, in fact, on the Democratic Party is actually larger than that on the right. I mean, just look at the right. Podcastistan is now breaking with Donald Trump. Nick Fuentes has come out now as a Democrat. All these people who are presumed to be right-coded are actually on the left, trying to get Republicans to break away from Donald Trump, trying to break up the coalition on behalf of the Democratic Party. But meanwhile, the Democratic Party around the country, they can't stand up and say no to boys and girls sports. They can't stand up and say, yes, we need to deport illegal aliens and not give them benefits or the right to vote. The Democrats can't say these sorts of common sense things that are supported by most people because the Democrats are, in fact, as a party, held hostage to their far left flank. So you have the Democrats in California on stage supporting boys and girls sports. You have the Democrats in California supporting giving illegal immigrants welfare benefits and the right to vote in local elections. They did that in a debate yesterday. Those are not 80-20 issues. They're 20-80 issues. The Democrats on the side of 20% or the 10%. They're held hostage to a group of people who have a lot of money, who are detached from reality. They're held hostage to the yacht Nazis. Breaking news, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have lifted their restrictions on use of American air bases in those two countries, now allowing the United States to secure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, ships that want it. Notably, the Iranians have fired on a Chinese-owned vessel that is controlled by China and owned by China and carrying cargo to China and had painted on its side that it was Chinese. The Iranians fired anyway, which might be why there are rumors that Xi Jinping is now getting frustrated with the Ayatollah and his regime. We still haven't seen the Ayatollah and aren't really sure that he's alive. This is part of the problem for Xi Jinping, is that he, a secular communist, is allying with religious fundamentalists who hate the West. And you can only ally with religious fundamentalists who hate the West for so long. Remember, when the Shah's regime was overthrown in the 1970s, it was actually communists in Tehran and around Iran that were the first ones to begin the revolutionary effort. The Muslims came in, the Islamic radicals, and said, we'll side with you. If you put us in charge, we'll take care of it. And the communists and the socialists in Iran said, okay. The Ayatollah came back, got into power, and promptly murdered all the communists. Didn't want anything to do with them. The naive fools that they were. We'll see how this situation plays out now. But Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have now said the U.S. can go back to resuming use of their bases in those countries. Whether or not the president will resume Operation or Project Freedom is something else to be determined. The president thinks they may be on the verge of a deal. We are not sure. The Iranians seem certain to reject the demands of the United States unless they are equal to what Barack Obama offered, and that's not very much of a deal. And by the way, the CIA projects that Iran could survive 90 days. So let's keep the pressure on them then. Now, I got to tell you about Old Glory Bank. Old Glory Bank is my bank. I got asked about Old Glory Bank yesterday when I was in Springfield. And I said, look, it's FDIC insured. I've got a checking account and a savings account. You can get that for yourself, for your business, for your kid if you need a custodial account. It's an FDIC insured bank. They do mortgages. They do they do CDs. And if you're active duty military or you are a first responder, Old Glory Bank will take care of you. They waive some fees. They partner with charities around the country to help homeless veterans get bank accounts that they need to collect their benefits. They're a big advocate for active duty military veterans and first responders. If you're interested in checking them out, just go to oldglorybank.com/Eric. I told this group last night that was asking me about them. I said, look, I left my old online bank because I couldn't deposit cash, and I need to be able to deposit cash at my bank. And I couldn't do it with them. And Old Glory Bank figured it out with a QR code in their great app. And you can do that with them too. And this guy admitted he couldn't do it with his bank. So Old Glory Bank can do it. OldGloryBank.com/Eric. Check them out today. OldGloryBank.com/ERICK. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.